Hello, welcome back to the Sideboard here at the Regional Championship, part of SCG Con Charlotte. I'm Nick Miller alongside a 2016 Players Champion, Joe Lossett, and you are playing Orzhov Necro, which is a offshoot of the original Mono Black Necro Dominance deck we saw break out at the Modern Pro Tour. But we've got the card, the talk of the town now, Kethis. What does this card do for this archetype that this deck couldn't do beforehand?
Well, so if we're maximizing Necro, we want to have free cards, right? And in order to, we need a lot of extra card advantage in order to support those, which the Necro provides. We're not going to draw the Necro every game, and in Modern we don't have, tutors really, effective ones at least, to get it. So Kethis is another 3-mana card that can generate significant card advantage, so it can kind of stand in for the Necro. So you really have you'll consistently have a 3-mana play that will support the free cards over the course of the game. That's really, I think, the big part of it against spell decks. And against creature decks, eventually it turns into, and really not that deep into the game, it turns into a very strong creature, that gains life, which is good for Necro. So it works well together.
Yeah, that's the one thing I see is, how often are players going to be able to turn on Kethis and be able to attack in a variety of different decks? So for this deck, it's a real threat.
Yeah. No, so we have Relic Progenitus, which the black-white blend decks play also. So it combos well. I mean, if you play Relic on turn 1 or 2, Kethis on 3, as long as there's any card in the graveyard, you can draw a card immediately. And then it's sometimes Kethis is active as an attacker or blocker on turn 4. That's not frequent, but it does happen. The pitch spells help. Like Soul Spike, you get to pitch 2 cards directly into exile. So that helps build it up. Also, Necro, the combination, again, the two working together. If you Necro up a bunch of cards and then discard the hand size, they all go into exile. So that also turns on Kethis. And then there's kind of combinations of stuff that work very cool, like Kethis on the board, opponent checks, okay, there's 5 cards in exile, attack with 2 guys, Soul Spike one of them, now Kethis is online, block the other guy, and the game's just over. So it's not reliably active on turn 4, but it gets going sooner than I expected looking at the deck list before I started.
And I assume if you have both your namesake card and Kethis on the board at the same time, you're probably living a pretty good life.
You are, yeah. It's very strong. You're flush with cards. Your life total holds up pretty well from Kethis and from the Soul Spike scanning life. They can't really attack through you. So you're in good shape.
For those unfamiliar with the archetype, take us through what exactly is going on with the deck. We almost look like a mid-range deck, but we have this combo flourish too.
Yeah, and we have a card. We don't have a game-winning combo really. We have a combo that just provides more resources on a rapid basis. So really, we're looking for turn 1 either a discard spell or a fatal push if they have a creature. I mean, either one. I mean, relic, but whatever. We have a bunch of turn 1 turn 2, we have 2 sets of 2-drops. Both impact graveyard cards going to exile, so that contributes to the Kethis later on. And then on turn 3, ideally, we want to have 1 of the 2 cards. And then maybe we play a pitch spell, maybe we're drawing some more cards, and then we just win by an overwhelming amount of resources, really. There's no trick. Yeah. I mean, like Necro and Shielder, it's nice for gaining life, but that doesn't kill the opponent either. So we're just establishing a strong position and then just kind of bowling them over with power over the course of the next few turns.
And I would have to imagine having this much incidental or not, it looks pretty directed. Graveyard hate is nice for a meta that has Breach and some other decks.
Yeah, no, it is. We have an unbelievable amount of Graveyard hate main deck with the relics, with the double-sided Boggart, with the Dalthi Voidwalker. I mean, it's very hard, and still, despite all that, Breach can still get you starting from scratch. But the Voidwalker, unlike some of the other cards, like Boggart Trawler clears the graveyard, but they can win from a fresh start. With the Voidwalker in play, they can't. And it's not, I mean, it's 2 toughness, they can kill it, but it's another thing they have to deal with before they can start. And with discard and whatever, you can kind of support that and put a lot of pressure on them.
Anything else going on in the main deck here that we should be aware of or that you might overlook if you're unfamiliar?
So a big thing with Necro itself is that, okay, your hand size is 5, but that happens in cleanup, and you can draw up to, often you draw up to 8 cards, and then Soul Spike back down to 5. So basically it's almost free. Also some of the kind of the cute interactions, like again, Necro and Ketramos do so many things together. If you have those in play and you play a fetch land and you activate a fetch land, it goes to the graveyard, and the Necro's like, well, that's going to go to exile, and the Ketramos is like, wait, something went to exile from the graveyard? Well, you better draw another card. So there are things that, and then the Relic of Progenitus and Ketramos, I actually got tripped up by this. Watching it happen on Magic Online, I was like, is there a bug here? Because, okay, you play the second activation on the Relic, it exiles itself, you draw a card. The graveyard's assuming Ketramos is in play. Mm-hmm. The exiles the graveyard, you draw another card, and then you draw a third card. I was like, what is this third card from? And I got confused and forgot the Relic is a cantrip itself. So it's actually Ancestral Recall with Ketramos in play, which is insane. It's just randomly in the deck.
Yeah. You heard it here, Ancestral Recall.
Exactly. And even if it's in play, it costs 1 mana. It's the same card. It's colorless. It's better. It's better than Ancestral. I'm just
ban incoming.
Probably not on the Relic.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Take us through the sideboard here. You have an innovation here, splashing with blue for the Consigned in Memory, and this is just for what exactly?
Well, it's for Eldrazi. I mean, sure, there's other random things where it matters. Against Belcher, it counters, the Belcher, and you would bring it in there. But really, it's for the Eldrazi deck. The list I started, I didn't innovate this whole deck. Like the Black-White Necro deck was a thing already. I played a couple leagues with it online, and I started making changes, like that's how you do. And Break the Ice, I mean, it's 2 mana land destruction, right? That's good. That doesn't exist really in Modern, and it's still not that great. They can go a green land plus Utopia Sprawl, and then you're sitting there with Break the Ice, that doesn't do anything, and then you can't cast it, and then they start playing bigger stuff, and then you're behind. It's like, it's not very exciting. Consigned in Memory is the best card against Eldrazi. Everybody knows that. And even though we're already, an Orzhov deck, our white commitment isn't really that significant. So it didn't cost that much. To add a color, it costs me a basic, which, that's relevant, but, and it costs me a Surveil land. And that felt like an okay cost to pay in order to have Consign over Break the Ice. Maybe Eldrazi is not that metagame powerhouse that it seemed like a month ago, but it still matters. Yeah. And I still feel like it's probably worth doing.
Yeah, and it's still one of the 5 most played decks in the room. You're gonna see. Anything else you want to call out here in the sideboard? So
you maybe remember how much I love Gemstone Caverns. I'm always looking for an excuse to play Gemstone Caverns. And I did have a game yesterday in the ReCQ playing for next season, which is exactly how you would draw it up. Going second, Gemstone Cavern, turn 1, 2-drop, turn 2, Necro, draw a bunch of cards, Soul Spiker guy. I'm ult to 5, and on turn 2, I'm massively ahead. Yeah. Gemstone Caverns is sick. I love this card.
And the rest, fan favorite for Joe.
Exactly. Yeah. And the rest is just kind of extra removal, cheap removal, hate cards for some of the ramp decks, and that's basically what it is. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything to say about the deck in closing?
I don't think this deck is setting the world on fire, but I think it's certainly a playable deck. Not everyone has experience against it. If you're going to play it yourself, go through some of the Ketramos. Some of the Ketramos triggers are surprising. Like if you're playing online, sometimes it's going to trigger and you're like, wait, why is this even? There's some shocking things in there. Dauthi Voidwalker is a sick card. I haven't really played with a lot before, but that's a really fun card to use. No, it's an enjoyable deck. I like it. I think it's competitive, and it's a good time.
Awesome. Well, Joe, thanks for taking us through the Orzhov Necro deck. Stay tuned to Star City Games all weekend long for the action here in Charlotte.